Greetings, everybody. Tom Matuska here and Brett Wingfield for the Matuska Taxidermy Supply Company Thursday afternoon live. And we're into summer again.
Oh my gosh.
It's gorgeous out. It had to have gotten almost 80 degrees here, I think, today. And we're going to be spoiled. I think that next week they're talking snow and freezing rain and all kinds
Right back to winter?
Yeah, right back to winter.
I think we were record high yesterday.
It'll pulsate into winter a little bit, and we'll have a few nice days and a few cold days until they break us in and give us all the cold.
Then we get real winter.
And we have a lot of people that tune in from warmer climates, and some of them have never experienced. I mean, we talk to people all the time that have never experienced. It's nothing for us in the wintertime to get 20 to 30 degrees below Fahrenheit temperature alone without the wind, and add to that a 30 or 40 mile an hour wind, and it's like a blowtorch on cool.
Yes.
So if you ever want to experience that, keep in touch with us, and we'll watch the forecast, and you can come up and
go ice fishing.
Walk around, yeah. You can catch a lot of ice. We got an abundance of ice, so we have some of the best ice fishing that you will find anywhere. If you joined us last week, I think you probably saw some new products, and we were pretty excited to show you, oh man, XP forms and noses and new poses and, you know, all kinds of fun things. Catalog will be out soon, and I think once again it seems like they add 400 new products a year, and this year we fell short, and I think I saw it was at 380 new products. So we kind of have a lot of new exciting stuff. And
a lot.
Everything to make your taxidermy businesses easier, more productive, more profitable, and some of the things you'll wonder how you ever lived without. So check out some of our new products, and when you get the catalog, I'm sure there'll be lots of fun promotions and things like that.
Yeah, I bet a lot of them are online now. I
think they probably are.
Yep.
All new products, new pricing, and all kinds of things. And I think you'll notice a lot of our pricing, a huge amount of it, stayed the same, maybe even a few price reduced.
Wow.
You know, we like to do that.
Do we get better at doing stuff?
No, we just lose more money.
I don't think that's so.
One of the new products that we're going to have in the catalog and that we're going to feature today is premium bedding material, fiber, and comes in a bag like this. And when I first started making reproduction fish is what we use this for a lot, but you can make anytime you're trying to reproduce something, whether it's maybe an antler or all kinds of things, a skull, a lot of different things that you need to embed halfway down. Sometimes our tools, you know, if we make a special tool or something that needs to be divided in a mold that's top half and a bottom half, you need to bed it in something, and clay can work, but clay is not fun. It's hard to work with and a little bit stiff to work with. So we've used for years high fiber, and high fiber went away several years ago. And I look back at what I used to use in the 70s when I first started doing this, and you thought that we just stuffed leaves and things and stuff. But we used to use asbestos. I used asbestos for years and years and years. I would buy it by the big bags, and I was thinking today, I said 50-pound bags. I think we even got 100-pound bags of asbestos.
I bet you did.
And when you couldn't buy it locally in the United States anymore, I would get it out of Canada. And I think I possibly could even have a partial bag in a storage unit. I probably shouldn't say that. But we used to use asbestos, and you mixed asbestos with water. You added it to our maches and all kinds of different things. You know, you had asbestos. So asbestos was a great product that they took away from us. Then came high fiber, and we used high fiber for years and years and years, and now that's gone. And now we have, I think, a better substitute for all of them, and that's
it's pretty exciting.
Our premium bedding fiber, and we're excited about it. It's some of the nicest stuff. Whoa, what do we have here? Did you guys just come from the swimming pool?
Oh my goodness. You weren't out fishing?
Here, come,
No?
come on right in here. We'll introduce you. This is Quinn. Some of you have met Quinn before. And Quinn is Mandy's.
Say hi.
Hi.
And this is Madden. That's Mark Matuska's.
Hi.
And they're kind of about the same age. And do you want to show them what you've been doing, Madden? This summer, Quinn made a paperweight out of clear casting resin. And she had a little bit of help, but we made, what'd you put in it? You put Harry? Is that his name? What's his name?
Fred, that's
Oh, Fred.
right.
Fred the turtle, a little painted turtle that met its demise on the shore of Spirit Lake. And Fred was kind of odorous, kind of smelled a little bit. And so he would do better in a paperweight. So we made Fred into a beautiful paperweight, didn't we?
Yeah, it worked way better than the plastic bag she carried him around in for a few weeks. Huh.
So when Madden came, he has never made a paperweight, so we had him make a paperweight. Let me grab one here. We have a mold. This is our mold, and this mold is a huge, old ceramic mold. I looked online, and I don't think you can find ceramic molds anymore. And when you get impatient, you break them, and you break them in half is what I did here. But this was our experiment, right, Quinn, when we made that? And that's a clear one just to make sure it look okay. And then Fred got put in that one. Madden, you want to come up here a little closer? You want to thunk on the bottom of this, and we'll see if we can't get yours out. What'd you put in? You put shells?
Shells.
Shark teeth?
Shark teeth.
What else? You had a lot of fun stuff. Okay, go ahead, pound on the bottom with your little knuckles, and we'll see if we can get him out. Ooh, you did it. Oh, look at that.
Oh.
Ooh, baby, is that pretty or what? What do you think?
That's cool.
Look
Show
at all
the
the
camera.
stuff you put in there.
Hold it right up to the camera and see if she can zoom in on that and see what it looks like.
Looks like you put some glitter in there. Did you put sparkles
Oh,
in
there's
it?
glitter. There's a big old petrified snail, shark teeth. That's pretty cool, isn't it?
That is pretty fun.
What do you tell Papa and Brett for helping you?
Thank you.
Welcome.
It's been fun having you here this week.
Yeah, he was
I'm
here.
not giving that to his dad for Christmas, but
Oh, I wasn't supposed to show
no.
that's okay. That's okay.
it. Maybe we'll make a new one. Maybe he's not watching.
Yeah.
All right, it's yours.
that's
Take it
fun.
away.
All right.
Wow. Thanks for helping this week, Madden. Bye, Quinn.
Thank you, guys.
On your own tonight.
All right, this was so fun that one of our Thursday
should.
night lives, because the kids love this, and
Yeah.
they can make those, and they can put any of their precious little treasures in there. And
Yeah. Baby teeth.
I have one with a big scorpion in it. I have a cicada in one. I have an octopus in one, and I still have them from way before the 70s, and they last forever. So
do you have
that's
a-
kind of fun.
Do you have a dinosaur in one?
No, no
Way
dinosaurs.
before the 70s.
Okay.
But that's pretty neat. We make all kinds of different molds and do a lot of fun things, but in the taxidermy shop, but it really relates to a lot of different stuff.
A lot of the stuff you work with applies to kids,
Yeah.
and some people do their best to keep their kids out of their hair, but if you include them and teach them a few things, first thing you know, they're kind of helping you, and they become very helpful.
They
So,
do. They do.
Back to our premium bedding fiber. This was, I mean, like we didn't have anything for years and years and years, and we substituted with paper pulps and fine
Yeah.
silica sands and everything. Nothing did it. Every company came out with a fiber substitute, a high fiber substitute, and nothing worked like high fiber. We were contacted by Mike Grady, and he had developed premium bedding fiber, and we're always pretty skeptical when we get these new products, and so tried it and found it to be as good or better as anything we've ever tried. Yeah. So when you're bedding, when you're making a reproduction fish, which we're going to do for you today, you're going to want something like the premium bedding fiber.
Now, back in the day, I remember a book And don't you have a book?
Ralph Morrill.
Yes. Museum quality fish taxidermy?
Yep.
Yep. And what did they use for bedding
I
material?
was going to ask you. I just looked at the pictures.
I think didn't they pull up on the shore? And
Oh,
just
no.
bed
No.
those big fish?
That was the Yale,
Oh, yeah, yep.
the Ivy League College, Yale, whatever. And they would catch big sharks and sailfish, and they would pull up on the shore, yes,
Yep.
in a big old fishing boat. And this was in the 50s, and they would actually bed these giant sailfish, hammerhead sharks, all kinds of big, big fish, bed them on the beach
Just right in the beach
and
sand.
make a plaster mold.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
We don't have to do that.
No, this is easier. We don't catch those kind of fish.
That's right.
So today what we're going to do for you is we're going to actually show you how to bed a fish. We're going to show you how to mix the bedding material before you bed the fish. We can't show you how to go catch the fish, although we did. We needed a fresh specimen.
Yeah, and that's
yesterday.
important to having a good mold. That's not just because we wanted to go, but it
But we
is
kinda
really
wanted to go.
We did. But it is really important to have to start with a fresh specimen. We see a lot of fish in the competition arena that are reproductions, and people think that their reproduction must be great because they made a mold of it. But if they made a mold of a 2-day-old dead fish or a fish that's been in the freezer, they're still going to have some shrinkage. So we've got a pretty fresh one. I think
He's pretty fresh.
still flopping not very long ago.
5 minutes ago. Even, you'll look at fish that are people made molds of, and they either molded their errors or they bought them. You can buy, there's a lot of companies selling reproduction fish that have less than perfect specimens.
Yep.
And when you buy them, you're stuck with that. You can't really change them. This is one from, Waters by Klaus.
Yeah.
And this is a beautiful little reproduction bluegill. Ours is not quite this big, but he's going to turn out just like that. He's going to be every bit as beautiful, but smaller.
But much smaller.
Maybe this one could eat him.
Chase fish. But yeah, so it is important to start with a fresh specimen, and we did that for you today. We went to great pains to do that for you.
It's hard.
Today.
It's hard when you say go out and catch a fish, and you have to go out and catch a fish in. Oh, look at that.
Especially when
There we are.
Especially when the water temperature is 40 degrees. But we found one.
Okay, let me show them the fish. Oh gosh, wrong towel. Okay, here's our specimen. Brett was kind enough to catch him and donate him to the cause. And when you're doing a fiberglass fish or a reproduction fish, it's good to have good photos, take good photos like Brett mentioned, reference and things like that. So we're going to show you how to bed that into high fiber to make half of the mold, and then we'll probably have to continue this next week to continue the mold. I don't know how far we'll get today. Do you want to show them what to do with premium bedding material?
Absolutely. So the premium bedding material you're going to receive is a dry powdered material, and that's mostly just for weight. It could be shipped wet, but you're just adding water. There's no need to add anything else to it. We have added a little bit of bactericide to ours occasionally, as you can reuse it, as it's been in use for.
We use it over and over and over.
Well, and it was a premium because we couldn't get it.
You never throw it away.
No, don't ever throw it away. You'll receive it just like this. It's dry. This is probably half of a 5-pound container. You
Yep.
use some out of this. It'll come in a 5-pound bag. It goes a long way.
It's a big bag.
It goes quite a ways. So dry weight of 5 pounds is going to get you a fair amount of material. And it's just add water. So let me get a container. Just got a little ice cream bucket here. Just a clean little bucket.
And we had ice cream today.
We did. We had root beer floats from Madden. Madden brought us root beer floats this afternoon. But we're gonna add
What's that?
some. I'm just gonna put in a good little batch here. This is a fortunately, this is just like I cook. We don't have a specific recipe. It's not real critical to the amount of water that you need. It's kind of a mix it to the consistency that you're looking for. And what we want is something that will, we want to bind all this fiber together. We want the water to do that for us. So I'm just going to use a little mixing stick quick. You can use your rubber glove with your hands, works really well. But I'm just going to mix some of this in. And that soaked up a lot of water. I'm going to need some more water.
Should I get you some?
I think so. I think so. I just used, for you guys that are keeping notes and taking measures, that's 32 ounces, 4 cups. And it's going to take a lot more than that. You can see it's just starting to mix a little bit. Starting to mix into itself. One nice thing, one thing that you usually do is once we've used this a time or two, we just keep it in a 5-gallon bucket and let it dry out. And you just put hot water in it overnight and let it sit, don't you?
I like to take a spade bit and really bore down into it with a spade bit and break it up into chunks and then put hot water in it, and it'll absorb a tremendous amount of water.
It really will. And by morning, it will soften up nicely. And I've added more water than I needed. So now I'm going to go back and add a little more powder. But we're looking for something that is, when you pick it up in your hand, it will hold a form. So we want it to hold like mud, similar to mud. And the nice thing about this is it's going to really, really take on a nice shine when we trowel it. Now that I've got it pretty well mixed to the consistency that I'm after, like so, it's starting, you can see that it's starting to bind together. Maybe. And you can take right in your hand, like so. And that might be just a little bit loose yet. Did my mic turn off?
Yeah, it appeared to have. Looks like it should be good.
Okay. But that's kind of what we're looking for. It's a little bit loose right now. We could add just a little bit more powder to it if we needed to. We have another bucket that we mixed up just a little bit ago that we might choose to use too.
You can always add more fiber or more water depending on what you need.
Yep. Yep. I might put just a splash more in there. So do you want to show them? Are you going to bed it?
We can do that.
Start laying up their fish?
One of us can do fins and one of us can do the body. And now typically we're going to want to, we can mold the fins that are on the center line of the fish, like his anal fin, his dorsal fin, and his tail, but we need to make a separate mold of his pectoral fins and his pelvic fins.
Yep. Just because they wouldn't come out of a mold if we were to raise them up.
So is it okay if I cut those off?
Yeah. You need some scissors? You got scissors.
I've got them. Now I'm going to cut right up to the muscle and leave the skin attached to the fish. Like so.
Oh, I got a little cup for you. If you weren't going to get to them right away, you can drop your fins in a little cup of water. Because we've got a lot to deal with. We've got both the fish body and the fins. You might do one lay one up and get it ready to pour and then put it in the refrigerator and do the other. So why would we make a reproduction fish instead of do a fish skin?
I never would. No, a lot of different reasons, but say we want to make, say, for instance, the little bluegill that we have bedded back there. It would be really nice to have 3 or 4 of those in front of maybe a big muskie or a pike.
Sure. Yep.
Would be really, really nice. And if
Yep.
you had a mold, you can make them over and over and over. Catfish, for instance, we made all the state record catfish. And when we turn me off here, nobody ever calls me. I never have to do that. We did all the state record catfish, and when the channel catfish came to us, they wanted 5 of them. They wanted them for different hatcheries in the
Sure.
same fish. And we made molds of that fish, and we altered the poses and the backings and things like that, and
Yeah.
people couldn't tell that it was the same fish, just angled different. Some fish are conducive to reproductions and some aren't. I think Jimmy Lawrence makes reproductions of nearly all the fish that he does.
He does.
And little panfish. If you make a mold of a fresh fish and it, you know, the shape and the muscle tone and everything is pretty accurate, a lot of times that's more accurate than what you can do with a skin mount.
Yep.
And there's all plastic. There's nothing that can deteriorate. There is a trade-off with reproduction fish. You have to be able to paint them convincingly.
Yes.
And that's taken, I think for us, years of, you know,
Yeah,
practice and trial and
absolutely.
to come up with a good-looking reproduction fish. And when you do, they are exceptionally, you know, lifelike.
Yep. The bluegill and the pike.
Yep.
Both of those are reproductions, and they're exceptional. But it's time and it's detail. And,
Yep.
And it took a long time to get to that.
Yeah.
Northern's a tough paint.
Yeah, we
but
tried a lot of
that's a
different
great
things.
one. So you've cut the fins off, and we've got them stored in water. Anything else we need to do to him?
No, I think, can you bring those pieces
Yeah.
down? We'll show them what we're gonna do.
Got it.
And then I can kind of start on one for a little bit.
So this is one you did this morning.
I'll tip him up if I can get him without. Okay, this is what we're gonna end up with. And this is another one of our little trophy fish from our fishing expedition. It's a beautiful little bluegill, and he's going to make a great mold. And like I said, put 2 or 3 of those together in front of a fish. It'd be like Don Chase Fishmasters who couldn't even keep up with us, could he? Or I mean, Don Frank.
That's right.
So we're going to have a nice little reproduction bluegill. And then these are the fins, and the fins were set up in such a manner that we're going to make a 2-piece mold, and when we tip it up and put it together, we can pour our casting material for the fins in here, and we will remove everything in there, so those wires that we put in there will be kind of actually sprues that will feed the resin down to the fin.
And that will be a mold, I think, like this one. This happens to be a rubber mold, but same thing. We're going to pour this out of Bondo, but that'll work just like that.
Oh, that's pretty.
That is a nice mold.
See, so now that was acrylic rod I think we put in there for a channel. Look at those fins, are about as perfect as you could get.
Yeah, that's a little smallmouth.
And that's silicone rubber.
Yep.
Now we're going to do the same thing on an auto body putty.
Yep. Yep. Because they're flat and they're basically, the detail doesn't undercut in a fin, so you can get them out of a 2-piece rigid mold pretty easily. But you can pour them out of silicone. That's a platinum silicone. This is a tin cured silicone. That's a tail. But you can pour them out of about anything that you want to. But Bondo is inexpensive, very, very durable, and Gosh, how many do you think you could get out of a Bondo mold?
Many. Your Bondo will break down eventually. We used to we didn't used to have Bondo. We made all of our molds out of plaster, #1 molding plaster.
Yeah.
We did many state record catfish, pallid sturgeon, paddlefish, all kinds of big fish. And a plaster mold weighs a lot. So you get a 50-pound catfish in plaster, it's 100 pounds per half.
Oh, I bet. So 150 pounds with the fish still in it. Yeah.
How about if I give you him to work on?
Okay.
Now, something else we should mention, that fresh fish are very, very slimy. It seems like when you take a fish out of the freezer to mount it, compressed water or high pressure water out of the water hose will spray the slime off. Borax takes the slime off. A lot of different ways to get the slime off. Different companies sell products that'll take slime off. We always use water. A fresh fish continues to seep slime, which is going to inhibit your mold. So make sure that you get the slime off before you pour your mold halves. And we found alcohol works pretty good for that.
Yep.
And I have some for you.
You've got some over there.
Craig Robertson is wondering if this is the product that he ordered.
It is, and I stuck it in your box.
That got
And-
picked up today, didn't it?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. I know they came to get it.
This feels pretty good. We've already rinsed him off once, so should be in good shape, but this feels really good. No excess slime. I might even use a little spray bottle if you got one over there just to keep him from drying out. You want to
do
make
have
sure that your fins don't dry out on you, because you are going to be working on this for a little while. Handy to have a little atomizer bottle with just plain water. Are you going to set up some fins?
And what do you need?
I'm going to get some premium bedding fiber and a little tray here.
These trays are pretty interesting because we've had them around forever, and they were made by Jerry Schaefer, and he
we
had a
just-
whole set of different trays like that. And they're fiberglass, made out of fiberglass molds.
Yep.
And
We got a
we've-
great big one.
We've
Great
used it
big
called a
one.
whaler.
Yeah. Yep.
We've used them forever.
Yeah, they are very, very handy and perfect for doing this.
I would borrow your alcohol if I could.
Yes. I usually don't share.
Just a shot.
So we're going to put some of this down. I think should we just work kind of simultaneously here? And
Sounds good to me.
we're both going to. So I'm going to lay down some bedding material.
If you got questions, go ahead and text them in to us.
You know, we should tell them too that if they really want to watch this from end to end, full and complete.
Oh, yeah.
We weren't trying to copy the Taxidermy University in doing a crappie, but that's all we could catch. But Cole's got a great crappie video.
Cole Kirkshank, Taxidermy University. Any of you that are interested in any of his titles, if they catch your eye, they're pretty detailed from front to finish. There's all kinds of them. There's Mounting White-tailed Deer 101, I think. There's Molding and Casting by Clint Rickey, Interior Mouth Parts. There is Competition Whitetail, maybe?
Yeah, Competition Whitetail. We've got turkeys from Blake
Yeah.
and fish from Jimmy. And
These are great.
Cole
Cole
did that
is
one.
not only has a good product here, he's a great producer, I understand. And you can tell by watching him. The cinematography is great. He's a good speaker.
yeah, those are nice videos. So if you want to watch it done right,
Yeah.
we're going to, so the idea here is we're just going to lay out enough material that I can fit the fish into and have a dam around or an edge, a flange like this. So this is half of a mold. I need probably this much material all the way around, and that way we can clamp the edges easily. We can drill it if we need to. We have room for mold keys so that the mold indexes together. So I need a pretty good amount.
And you can always trim off what you excess.
Yeah.
All right, we have a big question from Zachary Goss, and he is wondering if you cut the side fins off. He has just joined, so did not get to see that earlier part of that.
Yeah, we cut the side fins off, pelvic and pectoral.
Yeah, and again, that would be anything that's really not on the center line. If we had other things, if you were making a mold of something other than a simple warm water fish, there might be other little, I think trout have the little axillary processes that you might choose to take off as well. Now I've got kind of a little bed started here. Ideally, we'll bring this bedding material to the center line of the fish. And if you, Caitlin, if you can kind of get a close-up, if you look at this fish straight on, you can see a crappie has a nice ridge line right down his back. And that's going to make it really easy for us to bed right up to that line. And then we're going to bed right to the center line here of the belly and the fins. And in doing that, because we'll have an equal part on both sides, our mold should part. If you were to bed too far around the corners, which isn't hard to do on like a big bass or some big salmon with a big heavy belly, if you get too far around the corner, you may have some trouble getting that rigid part out of a rigid mold. So I'm just going to make a little crappie-shaped impression here to set him into. If you want to, you can lay your fish down on that. Just going to make a low spot like so. If you had a big fish and you were going to put much curve or shape in him, you might choose to prop the sides of this up, because we're going to keep this one fairly straight, maybe just a little bit of an S-curve in him. We're going to be able to, we'll bed him just like this. And I really don't need to, I can use the full thickness of the premium bedding material, but if I needed to, if I wanted to put a big curve in him, I could tip the sides up, stick a little piece of 1/4-inch plywood or something underneath him, or foam or something. I could lift him up. Look at you go.
Work fast to keep up with you.
Oh, no, you're way ahead of me.
And the nice thing about these fins, we're going to, for our purposes, we're going to make the mold very flat. The fins are going to be flat. And you may want some motion in your fins, but you'll wonder how you can do that when you made the mold flat. You can do that with just on these little fins, you can do it with a hairdryer, and just take a hairdryer and pose them the way you want, and then just let them cool by themselves, and they're going to give you a real nice shape that you're after. Now, the best thing about reproduction fish fins is you can always use them on a real fish. And we just had a customer bring in a big walleye yesterday that we'd done years and years and years ago. The tail is completely busted off. And luckily, we can go, can't we?
We got to catch one, though.
Oh, yeah, we got another fishing expedition. But we have molds of fish fins, and it doesn't take too much to pour one and then cut off the damaged fin and put on a fresh one.
So we don't get to go fishing again?
No, we will. We'll pretend we don't have the right size.
Oh, okay, okay.
All right, we've got another question from Lori Bill, and she is wondering if you can make a replica from a replica, like live bait fish.
I think that's done all the time. It seems like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you could. Careful copying
Yeah, I was gonna
other
say you
people's
shouldn't.
work. Yeah, but if you had one that you had molded years before and you pulled a part out of it and your mold was breaking down and you decided you really liked that bait fish or that particular fish, you could definitely remold the rigid part. And you could do it this way, or the rigid part you might even be able to do in silicone or with some other methods. So
Now, in addition to flat fins, I also am splaying them quite a bit. And for the purposes of this little fish, because of his size, he doesn't just have a whole lot going for him. So opening up those fins is going to look like a butterfly. So we're going to spread them a little, maybe more than he really needs.
yeah, and we can use those fins again. That smallmouth fin, I know we've used that on other skin mount fish that we've needed a fin for.
Now look how nice this spreads out, just so beautifully. And we're just using different tools. This is a palette knife. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Artists.
Other things that I had here, I don't know where they went, but those little plastic, oh, here they are, disposable palette knives work great. Use them over and over. You don't have to dispose of them. Another thing I found to be pretty helpful is these are the applicators for the pan pastels.
Oh, yeah.
And when
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
out of the foam pads, throw the foam pads away. Use these for spatulas. They work great.
I like that. I might have to try that. I think we're going to give him just a tiny bit more curve. Going to give this little crappie a soft little S curve to his spinal column, so I'm going to prop up his head just a little bit more.
Okay, and when you think this is done, really check your bedding fiber over real good to make sure it doesn't have any trenches or humps or bumps. Make it as smooth as you can. Really check it over. And then I want to put some mold keys on here. And you can do mold keys in a number of different ways. You can take your finger and you could poke a little mold key just so that the right hand, one side of your mold will index into the other side. Years ago, we made molds of little spheres and made mold keys. And we have rubber molds in which we can make these things 20 at a time. Because we do so much molding here, they're very helpful. Now these mold keys are made of a casting resin like our bird heads, and they will not come off without a mold release. So we take a mold release, little wax, paste wax, put it on there, and we're just going to set them in there so our mold will index together. And I'm going to overdo the mold keys. I don't need this many mold keys, but we'll do 3.
Worth noting here, I think this crappie would be nice with a closed mouth. Seems like everything you see today has a wide open mouth. So to do that, I think I'm just going to put a dot of super glue on his little jaw. Get that closed up permanently. And if you wanted to, you could do an open mouth. That's a pretty extensive addition to the process. We would have to do something on the interior. If maybe we'll leave this slightly open. If you wanted to, you could cast the interior, mold the interior.
We used to
Lots
have a
of
lot
work
of
involved
fish
in that. Oh gosh,
mouth
we did.
molds.
We did. Plugs. Lots of ways to go about doing that. I think that might be a topic for another time, but get this guy. Now, do we want to do the little cooking show thing?
The little one?
The cooking show where we can
I think so,
take the
don't
one
you?
that's already, yeah.
All right. We need a clock behind us that goes. Okay, we're gonna set this little guy aside. Now, if you're not ready to do this, and don't wait too long, I'd rather do it today than tomorrow, but we just take a piece of saran wrap or plastic wrap and gently lay it over here and set it aside. We have put them in the refrigerator before. That works. But you'll have a nicer piece if you don't let this lay around forever. And we spritz it with water. Sometimes we'll take a little spritz of water, and that'll keep it moist too.
Yeah, just make sure those fins don't dry up because they'll curl on you, they'll do bad things.
All right, we have a question from Joshua Salmon, and he is wondering how you mold the opposite sides of the fins or the fish.
You are gonna get to see.
Yes.
But maybe not today.
And yeah, that will be upcoming. So what we'll have to do just quickly, and we'll show and explain in another time, is we'll have to lift the fish out of here once the mold is made, bring him out. We'll have to clean off the backside of him really good. We usually will use water for that. And then we'll do exactly what we did here, except instead of needing the bedding fiber again, we're going to let the first half of the mold become our flange, and then we just pour the second half, wax in between, and look at that.
Okay, now we have, he's ready to go, and the fins are ready to go. Now, something that you'll notice, and could you hand me that little bluegill half over there? This is what you're going to end up with on your first pour. You're going to end up with something like this. And you'll notice that we have a lot of little fin filaments in here that's stuck. Those have to be cleaned off. So what we'll do is we take this mold over to the sink, and we'll take a soft brush, and we will scrub those off like a little toothbrush and clean those up. That way it won't interfere. But this is what your first pour is going to be. It's going to look a little bit like this. It's made out of auto body putty, and we'll show you how to do that. And we found that if you give it a dusting of mold release, and we're going to use Isocoat 531, a little dusting of mold release, and the fins won't stick to the mold as much. So I'm just going to take a real fine, I don't want any buildup, I don't want to take away any detail. And that will keep my mold keys from sticking. It'll keep, I got a little plexiglass, probably 3/8" plexiglass tube here. That won't stick, nor will my wires stick.
Do I remember reading somewhere that people used to paint them? Aerosol paint?
I did.
And what did you do that for? To seal? Was it a sealer or a release?
Whatever we use for a bedding material, and like I said, I'm pretty sure it was asbestos, and we used to use a gel coat for our first coat. We made actual fiberglass molds, and the fiberglass gel coat would not set up on the wet bedding material. So we would take paint like a fast drying, you know, back then I don't know what we had, but it was a spray paint, and we would paint the whole fish. Didn't matter what color. You could paint him white, pink, blue, whatever. And once that was dry to the touch, it needed to be something as fast drying as possible. Once that was dry to the touch, then the fish could be molded with your fiberglass gel coat.
I thought I remembered that for some reason.
You're jogging my memory. I had to think hard. What is he talking about? Okay, now I want my fish reasonably dry. I am going to spray this one with a little isocoat also, so I'm getting off any of the alcohol. Now, isocoat is a sprayable liquid wax, and it evaporates to nothing. So when you spray it on, you may get a little shine, but it'll dissipate and dry down, and you will not have any buildup as long as you don't put it on too heavy. Okay, this is what you're after. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. What you do here is the shape that you're going to get. So like Brett told you, make sure that if you want this should be good on both sides. If you wanted him going left and you wanted a kind of a conventional curve, make sure you pose him that way, because they're pretty tough to change afterwards. I've seen people do it, and we've done it before, but it's hard.
Heat them up, and much easier to pose them in the position that you are intending to use them.
Okay, are we ready to pour?
Ready to mix some stuff up and pour? So we're going to use, to make this mold, this will be a rigid mold, correct? This is just auto body putty, Bondo, and we've added polyester resin and very precise splash, just like we did with the bedding material. But we want it to be nice and pourable, nice and liquidy.
And the more liquidy you make it, and the more pourable you make it, the longer it takes to set up.
Yes.
Do it?
For you.
And we want kind of I find that we get nicer, lighter, better detail, less heat buildup if we don't pour 2-inch thick Bondo. I mean, you can literally cook that fish in there if you mix it too hot and build up too much auto body putty. And we're saying Bondo. Bondo's a brand name.
Yep.
It's an auto body putty, typically an inexpensive auto body putty. You don't need anything reinforced or with microspheres and that sort of thing. Yeah. So an inexpensive body putty, and we took polyester resin and thinned it.
I think we've done that for them several different times.
And it's pretty. It's not bad for consistency. Now, they say 1 inch per golf ball of resin, of putty. So 1 inch of this. We want it to set up a little bit faster. We're not worried about weakening it or anything like that. So I'm going to put in a little bit more.
How many golf balls you got in there?
I got a whole bag full.
Oh boy.
So we put a lot.
There's 15 or 18 golf balls worth. And the polyester resin will slow down the reaction too, so that extra little bit of catalyst is probably not, going to hurt anything at all. Not probably, it is not going to hurt anything at all. Tom used red hardener. We also sell a white hardener if you want your Bondo to turn out gray.
Which we use for rocks.
We do. We use it for rocks. It's nice for fish heads so that you start out with a little more neutral color, but it's very difficult to mix. I shouldn't say difficult to mix, it's difficult to know when you've thoroughly mixed it. So the added color, the red added color we put in there for you today makes no difference if it were red or blue or white, but this way you can see that it's thoroughly mixed, and that's really important to these fish molds.
Are we ready?
I think so.
Okay, now I find that the one thing you don't want to get is you don't want to get air bubbles trapped in here. So if you just pour it around like this, you're going to have two reservoirs of putty going together, and it's going to trap an air bubble, and pretty soon you have a big air bubble that stays in there. So if you start at one end and go let it cover the fish, and we can tip this fish up just a little bit. I'm pushing all the air ahead of me.
So notice he's pouring behind the fish. He's pouring onto the Bondo rather than pouring on the fish and letting the Bondo run.
Kind of like a lava flow, huh?
Yep. So that's forcing the air out ahead of it, and hopefully we'll push all that air away before it traps any.
If you get an air bubble in there, it's not ruined. It's just something you're going to have to fix later.
Yeah.
Now, give yourself plenty of apron. We'll trim that off later. I want to get over all my keys. Good.
Right, we got a question from Jason Vow, and he is wondering if you need to use the polyester resin hardener as well as the Bondo hardener.
We find we don't.
That's actually a question that gets asked quite often. And I think when you add the MEKP, which is the catalyst for the polyester resin, it seems to stay sticky longer with the MEKP. The Bondo hardener is basically the same thing with a filler in it that gives it more of a paste putty consistency. But the Bondo hardener will set up both components equally well.
Now this is I've gone over my ledge here of my dam. So now somebody's saying when you do the other side, we're going to flip this whole thing. We're going to have to let this set up so it won't be tonight. We're going to flip the entire thing, and we're going to clean that ledge off. I will just take this on the bandsaw and I will trim that up nice and neat.
Very nice.
So that's the body. Now, auto body putty by itself is kind of weak. You can break it pretty easy. So if we were to drop that, you're going to break it. We like to reinforce it with fiberglass resin and mat, and that would be something like this.
Yep. And again, using the polyester resin and the mat, and we just wouldn't add. But we usually do that after it sets up. You want another one?
Yeah, can you make me one?
I think I did.
Oh, good.
That's pretty thin. Did you get one of the big jumbo stir sticks?
I did.
Those
These
are kind of nice.
best.
Yeah,
Those are the best. We have those?
we do. We do. Another new and not real exciting until you actually need one, but another new product for 21.
Look at that. I can go all the way to the bottom of the cup without getting auto body putty and resin all over my knuckles.
And that is really a blessing because that stuff stays sticky forever.
Now, as you mix this, look so that you don't have swirls, marbly swirls. That'll be a spot that didn't get catalyzed. And as you're pouring, if you come across marbly swirls, stop and remix a little bit.
Did you put a release on your parts?
I did.
On your wire parts?
I sprayed Isocoat 531. We use this a lot in the shop. If you're ever worried about something sticking, that'll do it.
And so now same thing, huh?
Same thing. Now this is going to pick up all the detail. This will pick up perfect detail of that fish, all his scales, and all the fin rays in this. It's going to pick up perfectly, but it won't be strong. What's going to make it strong is once this sets up, then we'll come in with our fiberglass polyester resin and fiberglass mat.
I've seen people actually take compressed air to the Bondo while it's liquidy like this and go very lightly. I've also seen people blow Bondo all over the place. Don't do that. But that can push it down into extreme detail. If you had some big undercuts or places that it wasn't wanting to run on its own, you can influence it. Sometimes it's nice just to grab an airbrush with no paint in it and push the Bondo with that. That was just about right.
That was really just about right. Thin layer. You don't need thick. If this were, like I said before, if you poured it an inch thick and had it kind of thick and had to spread it like peanut butter, you're going to cook your fish.
Yes.
And when we used to make plaster molds, you have to get the plaster. You put a splash coat on to do detail, to pick up the detail, but then you had to put on 1 inch to 2 inches of plaster. And believe me, a 50-pound catfish that sat in a plaster mold cooking overnight as the plaster heated and cooled down is not pleasant the next day.
They are cooked and not cooked to perfection.
Okay, so we probably aren't going to get to show you today, but we're talking about, this is fiberglass for those of you that don't know. Fiberglass is made up of, this is the glass, which is polyester resin. This is the fiber. Should add Madden tell him that, because Madden learned how to say polyester resin, methyl ethyl ketone peroxide. He has a memory like a little robot, and so we were practicing with the chemicals.
It was very impressive.
But this takes a catalyst to set up also. And this is MEKP. When you buy this, you'll also get the catalyst. Catalyze it according to directions. And with a brush, you're going to paint this polyester resin on there and apply this. This will get saturated with the polyester resin. You put on another coat and another coat. And we'll probably, to get strong like this, this is a perch mold. This is a really strong mold. I probably only have, looking at the edge, maybe 2 coats of this.
I bet you could back your truck over it, though.
We won't, because this is kind of a nice perch mold. This
That is
one
a
of
nice
those
perch.
big South Dakota perch, and it's a beauty.
That is a big one. We need to make some.
So we have a couple questions, and I'm thinking they may actually be the same question. One is from Tom Dotterer, and he is wondering how long for the bedding material to dry before you use the Bondo. And from Brant Wessingberger is also how long to let bedding dry before you Bondo fish.
No time, really. You can pour it over the wet bedding material. The bedding material won't really dry. It may evaporate, the water will evaporate out of there, but it won't really dry. So you are free to pour your auto body putty, first coat over your fish, right on top of that bedding material.
Yeah, and Bondo doesn't have any adverse effects as far as curing over wet.
It's going to set up no matter what.
If you were doing a silicone mold, that would probably be different. You may even consider using a different product other than the premium bedding material, just because it's wet.
Because some silicones react with water.
Yeah, so be careful with that. Do a test. Any of this stuff that we show you, test it first.
Before you do it on your customers.
Yes.
We have people all the time call us, and they have a customer project that went bad. And all they had to do was take a little of maybe Bondo and pour it on here and see what happens, and oh, it worked good, I can proceed, rather than, oh my gosh, that was a disaster, now what do I do? And they call us up. We have people calling us up for deer capes and replacement fish and all kinds of different things that didn't go quite according to plan.
Deer capes that didn't tan well because the process wasn't tried and true. Yeah, lots of stuff like that. So do if you learn anything from us,
We've
from
done it all.
it's try a test before you commit a customer's project.
We have made every mistake. I have made, I shouldn't speak for you.
I have too,
I have made every
have.
mistake there is in this business, and I've also learned how to fix most of them. And the more you screw up, the better you get at fixing things, and I think it just makes you a better all-around taxidermist.
It does.
I've done it.
Don't intentionally screw stuff up just to have to fix it, though. Hopefully you'll learn a few lessons from mistakes that we've made before. But
And we're giving away tonight a 2-pound sample bag of the premium
oh yeah,
bedding fiber. And you guys are going to love this stuff. It's nothing, I mean, you can store it forever. Even when we get done with this mold or that mold, any of these molds, we will scrape all of that off and we'll put it in our ice cream pail and we'll let it evaporate and dry.
Yeah.
It'll harden, you'll think like mache, but it will reconstitute by putting in water. You can use it over and over and over and over and over.
another tip that we tried and seems to be working with some of our other material, our older bedding material, was to store it in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And I bet this would
And
be
froze,
fantastic.
we
Yeah.
have frozen some.
So that way it's all ready to go as soon as you take it out. You don't have to wait for it to soak up. You don't have to rehydrate it. You just throw it in the refrigerator and it's in Ziploc bags. That's what we did.
That's
we
what
just
we
did
did.
Ziplocs.
And if you do a lot of fish and if you use it quite often, it will start to smell like fish. And so we found that a little splash of bactericide in it cures that and makes it more pleasant to work with, and you can't tell that the bactericide's in there.
And we do have one more quick question from James Caldwell, and he is wondering if you can reuse the bedding material.
Over and over and over. We've used
Yeah.
it over for 20 years, I'll bet you.
Yeah.
We've still got a lot of times the guys in one of the outbuildings where the lawnmowers are and things like that will find a 5-gallon bucket and they're going to throw it, and I'll go, "What are you doing?" "That's my bedding material," because it just looks like nothing, dried up, something in there, and they say, "But it's no good." "Oh yeah, it's perfect."
You can use it over and over again until it gets thrown away. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so label it if you.
That's why we are the
you don't use it.
exclusive distributors of premium bedding fiber.
Yes. Yep.
And the good news is that we're pretty proud to have it, but the bad news for us is that once you get it, you won't have to buy any more because it lasts forever.
Until somebody throws it
Until
away.
somebody throws it away trying to clean your shop.
All right, so I guess it's time to announce the giveaway winner for the 2-pound sample of the premium bedding fiber, and that goes to Scott Stonebreaker.
Congratulations, Scott.
Congratulations, you'll really like it. How did Scott get chosen?
So he liked and shared last week's live video, and you don't have to be present during this actual live to be entered in for the giveaway, but make sure to like and share this live video by next Thursday at noon to be entered for next week's giveaway.
And what will that be?
It's a surprise. Also, don't forget to take advantage of all the products we used in today's live are 15% off. So that includes the palette knife set, the premium bedding fiber, auto body putty, and a few other good things. So use code FBOOK15 at checkout. There's a nice Facebook Live featured collection for you to see all those on our homepage of our website.
And those are on sale tonight? When do they go on
so
sale?
they go on sale right now at 5, and
nice.
that will go until tomorrow night at 11:59 p.m.
Oh, perfect.
And don't
Lots of
forget
time.
Taxidermy University molding a crappie, reproduction. Great, great, great. The whole process, probably much different than what we did because Cole kind of knows what he's doing. And it's a great publication, and combine that with what you saw today. Once you see that stuff, it's kind of a little bit helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And once you start playing and making molds like this not only applies to fish, it applies to bird heads and antlers and
It does. Fish and
rocks
lures.
and fish and lures.
Fish and
You're doing
lures.
fish and lures. It applies to so many things. And once you've played with these different products, it'll get your mind wondering if, why couldn't I do this, or why couldn't I do that, or I wonder if this will work. Some of it will and some of it won't. And you're going to get, you're just going to start expanding into all kinds of different creative things.
And hopefully not go broke.
Well, a quick story before we go. When I first got married and Vicki and I moved to Spirit Lake, and muskies were first introduced here in a catchable size, and a perch was a logical lure
Oh, yeah.
coloration.
Yeah.
I thought, being a taxidermist and as good as I was, I can make a reproduction perch into a hook. So I caught much too big of a perch. My perch lure that I'm molding was not this big, but it was not far off of this big. It's probably half this size. I made this fiberglass, I molded it out of plaster. I made a fiberglass one. I weighted it with lead shot. Now I already have a reproduction fish that probably weighs heavier than what he did. He's probably a pound. Now I introduce lead shot in so that he will lay upright and not on his side. Now I have a 2-pound lure. They didn't make fishing rods back then in the Midwest that could throw that type of thing. But it was so addicting that I couldn't quit molding these things. And my wife would come home from school and we were living on Kool-Aid. We couldn't afford pop. And she'd come home from school teaching kids all day long and want to know what I got done. And, you know, I have to tell her, oh, I worked really hard, I did this and did that, when really all I did was waste money and product trying to make fishing lures that were never going to catch a fish. Sorry, honey. But it's very addicting and it's hard to quit because it's so fun. It's a lot, I liken it to trapping. We don't know what that's going to look like till we take it apart, and we have to wait till tomorrow.
Part.
So
That
you
is the
can't
best
wait
part.
to come and flip it, and when it turns out good, your heart just skips a beat. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it is fun. It's a ton of fun, and yeah, you can do it until you can't do it anymore.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay.
All right, we do have a couple quick questions.
Sure.
Oh, more.
I like
One
questions.
is from Jim Rice, and he's just tuning in, so he is just asking.
Jim Rice from Missouri.
Yes, sorry. He is just wondering if the premium bedding fiber is a replacement for the high five.
Yeah, but it's better.
It's better.
It's good.
It's really good. You'll like it.
All right, and then from Brant Weisenberger again.
Again?
Yeah.
He messaged just the other night. I think he's passed his quota.
He is wondering if you can skin mount fish after making mold.
If you didn't suffer too much damage in the heat buildup, yes, but I wouldn't plan on it.
Be careful. Some people will take the Bondo part to the sink as soon as it kicks, once it's nice and firm, so you can reduce the heat buildup. You can run it under cold water and cool it down quickly, and then cross your fingers, and maybe some fish will let you do that. Yeah. You can even, story for another day, but you could mount
And we've taken fish out of them. Remember our half-cast fish? We would do half-cast fish out of plaster, and that got hot. And the minute the plaster kicked, get them out of there.
Yep. Get them out quick.
But with this, you may disturb your detail too.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay?
All right.
Thanks for joining us.
All right. We'll
Happy
see you.
Halloween.
Yeah.
A week late.
Almost a happy.
I know, almost Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Yep.